Hello, everyone, and welcome back to MMT Action News for the week of March 9th, 2026. I'm your host, and we've got some really timely articles this week that cut right to the heart of how governments should be responding to economic challenges.
Great to be here. And yes, this week's articles are particularly relevant given what's happening globally with shipping disruptions and the ongoing inflation debate. It's remarkable how MMT provides such clarity when conventional economics seems to be flailing about.
Let's dive right in with Bill Mitchell's piece about interest rate hikes and the Strait of Hormuz. His central point is brilliantly simple. Raising interest rates won't magically get ships moving faster through a bottleneck.
Exactly. And this is where mainstream economics really shows its limitations. They've got one tool, the interest rate hammer, and suddenly every problem looks like a nail, even when it's clearly a supply-side shipping crisis.
Mitchell argues that when you're facing real resource constraints, like physical shipping bottlenecks, monetary policy is completely ineffective. What we need is fiscal policy that addresses the actual constraint.
Right. So instead of raising rates and crushing demand across the entire economy, causing unnecessary unemployment, governments should be investing in port infrastructure, logistics systems, alternative shipping routes, things that actually solve the real problem.
And this connects beautifully to our second article from Tax Research UK, which makes a similar argument but broadens it out. Richard Murphy is saying that interest rates simply can't fix the inflation we're seeing now.
Murphy's been fantastic on this. He points out that sovereign governments have far better tools at their disposal, direct spending controls, targeted fiscal policy, that can manage inflation without destroying jobs and livelihoods in the process.
What strikes me is how both articles are really challenging this knee-jerk reliance on interest rate policy. It's like central banks have become so powerful that we've forgotten governments have other options.
And those other options are actually more democratic. Fiscal policy goes through elected representatives, whereas central banks operate with this veneer of technical independence that's really just insulation from democratic accountability.
Now, Bill Mitchell has another piece this week, part 2 of his structured approach for progressive political ambitions. He's tackling the big question: how do progressives actually implement their vision when they're constantly told there's no money?
This is crucial because progressives keep winning elections on ambitious platforms, then immediately get trapped by these artificial fiscal rules. Mitchell's saying you have to abandon those constraints and understand that sovereign governments can spend for public purpose.
He makes the case that achieving full employment, proper public services, climate action, all of this is financially possible. The constraint isn't money, it's real resources and political will.
And that's where the progressive movement needs to get its head around MMT, because without that understanding, they'll keep self-sabotaging by accepting neoliberal framing about deficits and debt.
Finally, we've got a fundamentals piece from Darren Quinn asking, what is MMT and why does it matter? This is a great explainer for anyone new to these ideas.
Quinn does a lovely job with the basics, that spending actually creates money for governments with sovereign currencies, and that they don't face the same financial constraints as households or businesses. It's the perfect piece to share with someone just discovering MMT.
What I appreciate about having an article like this alongside Mitchell's more advanced political economy work is that it shows MMT operates on multiple levels, from fundamental monetary operations to practical policy implementation.
Absolutely. And they all reinforce the same core insight. Our economic problems aren't about finding money. They're about mobilizing real resources effectively and making democratic choices about how we use our productive capacity.
This week's articles really drive home how MMT provides both the theoretical framework and the practical toolkit for addressing our most pressing challenges, from shipping bottlenecks to inflation to progressive governance.
Well said. As always, you can find links to all these articles and much more at mmtaction.com. Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next week.